Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. The New Orleans Saints came up short, and they have never won an overtime game against the 49ers, and they didn't win this one either. 27-24, 49ers win it in overtime in a game that had unbelievable turns and momentum changes and a very winnable game for the Saints. But the bottom line is they didn't do it, Lenny, much like the other games they've had a chance to win this year. That's the fourth game they've lost in this kind of fashion by a grand total of 9 points. And that's the difference between a very good season and a not-so-good season.
Right. You turn those 4 games around, and the Saints are 8-1 right now. I mean, but the reality is you are what your record says you are, and this right now is a 4-5 football team. Still 2 more to go on this homestand with a chance to get back to the good side of 500. But you know, you look at this game and comes down basically to mistakes. And I'll say mistakes and not turnovers. I mean, Drew Brees forcing the ball at the end of the half when you've got 3 points in the bag at that point. Those 3 points win you the game in regulation, perhaps. If you've, it certainly changes how the 49ers have to play at the end of regulation as opposed to being able to settle for a field goal. The offensive pass interference, I'll give Jimmy Graham a pass on that. That's just in the heat of battle. The breakdown on 4th and 10, where a receiver runs free, Colin Kaepernick, to his credit, is able to extend the play with his legs. And then, of course, the sack fumble in overtime, and you can say, well, it was coming from behind. Well, the fact of the matter is Drew Brees should have never hung on to the ball that long. That was way too long to hang on to the football. The proverbial clock in your head, you've got to have that. And, Drew Brees is such a competitor that he tries to make every play even when it's not there. And the interception at the end of the first half and the fumble in overtime are 2 classic examples of when the play is not there, you live on, you play for another day. And he didn't do that.
Well, he's had 8 turnovers in the last 4 games. He's faced the 49ers, so this is nothing new. And it's nothing new for the Saints to turn the ball over. Their failures are directly related to the turnovers. And it was mental mistakes, as our blog at SportsNola.com, that cost them the game, as you mentioned. Clearly, holding the ball too long. Clearly, Junior Gillette losing his contain on Kaepernick on that play that was extended. And then clearly, as was pointed out by Tony Dungy, on the pregame show on NBC, Coach's Clicker showed it over and over again. It's a 2-deep zone, and Corey White has the short zone, and instead of chucking the receiver to the inside toward the numbers, which is where the 2-deep safety is, he gives him almost a clean release to the outside where you lose contact with the guy. He releases him, and then Kenny Vaccaro, who's the deep safety, jumps Vernon Davis on a short route, and thus you've got a guy just sitting all alone that far down the field. Give Kaepernick credit for making a play. And then the play before the half, of course, you're right. That's a mental mistake. That's not physical. These are all mental mistakes. That's what bothers you more than anything else.
Sure. And, look, I like the competitiveness, okay, that you need to have the mentality that you think you can make plays in any given situation. You talk about competitiveness. What about Keenan Lewis yesterday? I mean, we get the announcement. He's out. He basically talks his way back into the game. Now, he didn't play that much in the second half, but still, he was able to come out there and make a couple of plays. He was not going to let this team lose with him sitting on the sideline, as it were. And, you got to love that competitiveness. Now, when you take that and it gets in the way of you winning a football game, that's where that fine line has got to come in.
He was outstanding, and they need him desperately because that is clearly the most vulnerable spot the Saints have is in the secondary. Now the Bengals come to town on Alumni Weekend this coming weekend, and you keep saying must win. They just played Atlanta right back into the division. Carolina's back in, and at this point the division is pretty much all you can be looking at in terms of goals for the season and trying to make the playoffs. Where LSU is concerned, it was the same kind of fate, an overtime loss in a game that they basically snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. The 15-yard penalty certainly hurt. There was no guarantee they'd score a touchdown there on Vidal Alexander. Could have gone either way with the call. But then the bottom line is that they can't get a stop when they need one, and we've seen this before. Alabama went right down the field, tie the game, and then in overtime they overcame 2 penalties on offense to score a touchdown. And then LSU, who can't throw the ball, throws it 4 straight times on their possession.
Yeah, I mean, 3rd and 10 and 4th and 10, certainly you understand. But when you've been as effective as LSU has been all game in running the football.
And you can't throw it.
Yeah. I mean, you're not – 1st and 10 and 2nd and 10, I don't get that. And you're right. This is a team that struggles to throw the football. And again, I guess you're looking to catch people off guard.
And you try to throw it to a fullback who doesn't catch passes and couldn't catch the pass.
Right. But it just doesn't. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense there. And we can be in the business of second guessing. Les Miles gets paid a lot of money to first guess, if you will. But it's one of those things that I don't know if that lost the game. I mean, I think like you said, you gotta Alabama's got 50 seconds and no timeouts, and they had from the time that they scored the touchdown,
one
first down. Until the 50-second mark, and then proceeded to drive down the field and get a game-tying field goal. And, really, there was a question, okay, do you take one shot at the end zone and try to win the game? They'd gotten that far down the field. They're at the 10-yard line. Did all of that with no timeouts. That's remarkable. And to Alabama's credit, we saw it at the end of both halves in 2012. It was, very reminiscent of that, when you think they've got nothing and all of a sudden they get 7 out of it. Same type of thing. So, it's frustrating, just like, for Saints fans, LSU fans, very similar type of feeling here on a Monday morning.
Yeah, the script familiar. We've seen that act before with LSU, Alabama, and, of course, that eliminates LSU from any consideration for SEC honors. And now it's simply a matter of which mid-level bowl game they'll end up being in based on what happens against the next opponents they play, including Arkansas on the road, where it figures to be very cold, from what I'm told, this coming Saturday. How about Tulane? Gave them no chance, basically, to win at Houston, a 3-score underdog. They go there and win, and their offense was very good, and Tanner Lee played outstanding, and their defense was outstanding in the turnover department. And who saw this coming? I didn't.
Yeah, if I'd have told you Friday, the 3 area teams are going to go 1-2 this weekend, you could have run to Vegas and gotten huge odds that Tulane would be the one, right? So who knew? But, that said, credit to Curtis Johnson and his staff and to Tanner Lee. And look, this is a young bunch of players getting it done. I mean, Tanner Lee, a redshirt freshman, is really the veteran right now. With the injuries that they've sustained on offense, you've got Dontrell Hilliard has become the featured back. He's a redshirt freshman. Teddy Veal has become or a true freshman, I should say. Teddy Veal is a true freshman, essentially become your number 1 receiver.
Perry Nickerson on defense.
Perry Nickerson, another redshirt freshman. 2 interceptions. He leads this team in interceptions right now. People continue to throw away from Lorenzo Dawson, understandably so, and Nickerson is stepping up. The big play at the end of the game to make the interception in the end zone. Give these young guys, and every one of those pretty much guys from Southeast Louisiana, I might add, give them credit for what they're getting done.
The New Orleans Pelicans had their signature win, not only of the season, but one of those signature wins that could change a franchise, winning at San Antonio on Saturday night. And that came almost after they blew the game and gave up a 10-point lead late in the game, but then they won it, and that was a huge victory. Should catapult into bigger things. Now they go to Cleveland and take on LeBron James and the Cavaliers tonight, which ought to be a very intriguing game and another measuring stick for this young team that got a big win the other night.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a tough place for anybody in the NBA to win, to go into San Antonio. And, one thing that the Pelicans had fresh legs, hadn't played since Tuesday. San Antonio playing their 3rd game in 4 nights. But you know what? That happens in this league. Popovich rested a lot of his older guys, as he's known to do in the second half of back-to-back. Didn't play some of them on Thursday night, so Duncan was fresh, and still. And you love that matchup when Duncan and Davis go head-to-head. Now, when it came down to the end, Davis facing an inexperienced guy just drove right by him to the basket for the game-winning layup. A very good play call there by Monty Williams to get really your best player in that situation. The ability to get to the basket and clear things out. And, indeed, that's what he was able to do.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll see how they fare at Cleveland. Of course, the Greater New Orleans Quarterback Club, noon, Mondays, the Cannery, 3803 Toulouse Street. And we'll have video from today's meeting. Hopefully you'll have a chance to come out. And then Sports NOLA TV, Monday night, 6 p.m. on WHNO. Brian Alley Walsh, Amy Jones, and Ricky Jackson. And we'll break down the Saints and talk about LSU, Tulane, and high school football and the playoffs. And big stories there that we want to talk about, too, which get underway this weekend.
Yeah, it's that time. You and I both agree there are too many teams that are going to carry a trophy out of the dome next month. But, still in all, it is the best time of year for high school football. It's win or go home. And there will be half the teams in Louisiana who are playing this weekend will not be playing next week, and that's that's the fun aspect of it, that you never know what you might see in these types of games starting as early as Thursday night.
Check sportsnola.com for schedules, because some teams will play on Thursdays, some will play on Saturdays aside from the Friday night games. So we've already got some posted. Check sportsnola.com.
And at different venues than where you might likely see them play.
Absolutely. So make sure you check out sportsnola.com. We'll have it for you. Lenny, as always, thanks. Have a great week.
All right, see you later this week.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank, with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of sportsnola.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great week, and God bless you.